Do you want an Elden Ring build that will let you do this to Millennia? Well, this is my DLC ready Frostbleed dual wielding katana build. So let's jump into it. Now let's start off with my status, and as you can see, currently at the end of the game I am at level 137. We have 54 vigor, we have 11 mind, 13 endurance, strength at 35, dexterity at 50, 9 intelligence, 12 faith, and 32 arcane. And we'll start off and we'll come down to our wondrous physics in our flask, and I am currently using the Crimson Crystal Tear and the Opaline Bubble Tear. So, one of these restores half of your total HP, and one negates damage in the mixed physic, meaning you can tank an attack just like this. I'll pop it now, and you can see we've got this lovely little bubble around us, so if I just casually slash them, there you go, and as you can see we tanked the first hit. And you can see the frost effect there. Now let's check out our weapons. So if I come back in here to reset the area, and then we'll come to our equipment, and you can see I'm using a cold Katana, and I'm using the Rivers of Blood. Now both weapons are maxed out, so the Rivers of Blood being a special weapon is a plus 10, and then the cold Katana is a plus 25. Now what I've put on these, if we come into here for our Ash of Wars, the Rivers of Blood you obviously cannot change, because it's got a special effect already. But when it comes to my cold Katana, I am using the Ash of War repeating thrust with the cold effect. Now to get this whetstone, you can get this in the Raya Lucarium Academy, sort of semi-halfway after you do the first main boss inside the, I want to say like the lecture theatre, whatever it's called, that bonfire there. You can then pick up this whetstone outside. Now using this, as you can see at the bottom, we have a frost build-up of 105 and a blood loss build-up of 38 on this one weapon. Now what you could also do, and I used this for a lot of the game, was go bloody slash, and to give you a blood loss build-up of 93. If we compare this alongside our Rivers of Blood, which has a blood loss build-up of 59, that is a lot of bleed you can do by having a dual build one. However, I prefer, and especially in the end game, I found that frost on this was way more useful. So again, if I come in here, we can do our repeating thrust, and we'll make it cold. So we get blood loss and frost build up on this weapon now to coincide with the Rivers of Blood. Now, frost is really good because it doesn't scale with anything. So you don't need to level anything up to get your frost build up, but you'll get a lot of frost building up by using the Ash of War repeating thrust, as you can see here. There you go, you can see the cold procced at the end there. Okay, now what's really good here is that Frostbite is an amazing stats effect. So once you land this, what it will help you do is 10% of normal damage to a normal type enemy, or if it's a boss, they'll take 7% of their maximum HP, and then just a standard 30 on top. But the key thing here is that it also increases all damage taken by 20% for 30 seconds, which is huge, and that is how you saw me take down Millennia at the start of this video so quick once it triggered. Now, I like using the dual wielding katanas here because I like how speedy and quick they can be, and how quickly you can get some attacks off. So this build, when it comes to actual armor, honestly, you can really go with anything. Because your endurance is not the highest, I would put on whatever still allows you to fast roll like this, but lets you look a little cool, in my honest opinion. So when it comes to your talismans, I am currently running the Crimson Amber Medallion +1, which greatly raises your maximum HP. I'm using the Green Turtle Talisman, which raises stamina recovery, and this is key. This is so good. I'm using the Arsenal Charm, which raises the maximum equipment load, meaning we can still fast roll with our dual katanas, and put on a little bit heavier armor to help us with the damage absorption. And the Blue Feathered Branchwoods, which raises defense when the HP is low, and this can really be clutch, especially in the early stages, or if you're like doing your first run of a boss. Having a little bit extra defense to let you work out the timings of attacks or their attack patterns, that sort of thing. Really good way of, even if you can't win a fight, it allows you to get some sort of like almost recon of a fight, so you know how these bosses function. Of course, if you want to know which Ash to use, I'm using the Mimic Tear plus 10. I think it's amazing. This build will still work if you don't want to use summons or Mimic Tears, anything like that. So just bear that in mind, but if you do want to, the Mimic Tear is phenomenal. Okay, so to get both of these weapons, one of them is a bit of a late game weapon and one of them is an early game. Now, if you want to do this build, I would suggest using maybe the Katana and another katana of your choice, or maybe a dagger that has bleed, something along the lines of that. But let's go over where to find it, and we'll start with the Rivers of Blood. Now, this can be found once you get invaded by Bloody Finger Okina, and unfortunately this does happen in the Mountaintop of the Giants. If you're unfamiliar with the Mountaintop of the Giants, it is this area up here that you get to once you've been through all of Lendel. So again, it is a bit of a end game item almost, but you'll find it here in the Church of Riposte. He'll invade you just outside, and then you can pick it up. Essentially, this is the route that you get to the Fire Giant, so please bear that in mind. The Katana can be found very early in the game, or you can start with it. Let me show you. So if you don't wish to go searching for the item, or you are starting out the game and you want to do this from the start, the Samurai starts with the Katana. So bear that in mind, it's an easy way to get it ASAP. However, if you want to choose another class, for example, I started with the Bandit class, and as you can see, they do not have a katana. Here's how you find it. It can be found inside the Death-Touched Catacombs here in Limegrave, and considering this is the starting area, it's a pretty quick and small journey to get here. And here is the entrance to the catacombs. Essentially, you want to go in there and you'll find the item hanging on a skeleton. Just work your way through the catacombs. I would suggest doing that for any catacomb, to be honest. But yeah, you can pick this weapon up pretty early, or you can start with it with the Samurai class. So this build is one that does take a while to come online. So what I did for my build to begin with is I actually started with a pure bleed build. So maybe use like Bloodfang Hound or Bloodhound's Fang, whatever it's called. And then go into this. Maybe use Reduvia, the amazing little blood dagger, and dual wield daggers until we get to the use of dual wielding. Because I will say dual wielding feels very, very different to just a standard like two-handed or just a one-handed weapon and a shield. It feels so different. Reason being is, for example, that is 3 clicks of the attack button. If you dual wield and you press L1 or whatever the left button is on Xbox, this is what 3 attack buttons look like. As you can see, the animation is much longer, and it's very easy to hit it too many times and then just get walloped really hard by bosses. Bear that in mind, it took me a while to really get into the use of not spamming the button, because usually 2 attacks would be that. So I'd instantly spam the 2 attacks, and then I'm locked in this animation, and that can be the difference between getting hit really hard by a boss and dying, and dealing some damage. Okay, as you can see, we have 2 tree sentinels here. Let's test this build out. And you can see just how much damage we do. Let's get the frost build up. If I could actually hit, we'll pop our flask, just like that. And here we go. Get the frost. And as you can see, now it's procced, and now we're dealing more damage per hit. And there you go. And now that just leaves this one here to kill. And again, we'll get the frostbite and the bleed going. We'll heal up a little bit. And let's get that frost. There we go. And now we can get the bleed as well. And that is how good this build is. You can deal damage, you can then cause them to take even more damage, and then you can proc with the bleed and all sorts. An amazingly fun build. I'm so glad I went to this one instead of using another two-handed weapon, because I always end up doing a strength build somehow. So I'm really glad I dipped into this dex build. So if you want to build that will help you take down everyone in the game essentially, and you can continuously work on this build throughout the game, then this is the way forward. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. Let me know what you'd change about this build below. Let me know what I should do differently for the DLC, or what you would change. Maybe you'd use different katanas, maybe you'd use curved swords. Let me know. If you haven't already, please drop the episode a like, it helps me amazingly. If you're new and you're not subscribed but you'd like to, that'd also be amazing, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.